Couple of weeks before I got sick, I was invited to visit a local elementary school, and I was invited by the principal of that school, who is coincidentally my Hungarian teacher, and her name is Gabriela. Sometimes she leaves comments in my videos because she watches them, so if she comments, please be nice. This school is called Petőfi Sándor, and Petőfi Sándor was one of the most influential and one of the most important poets in Hungarian literature, but I'm not going to tell you much about that because this is, after all, a planned class. Well, it's not a class, it's a planned video. And if you wonder why does an elementary school in Serbia have the name of a Hungarian poet, it's because this entire part where I live actually used to be part of Hungary, and there are still a lot of people who identify as Hungarians that live here. But all of those historical things aside, Gabriela invited me because they have a lot of plants in their school, and honestly, before I went, I couldn't really imagine how many was a lot, because for some people a lot of plants is 10 plants. For me, a lot of plants is, I don't know, I basically have 2 or 3 pots. I would say they probably have close to 100. But the reason why she invited me is because they had some pest issues on some of their plants, and perhaps some of the plants didn't do as well as she would like them to do. Because she knows that I make plant videos, she watches them, and she's familiar that I used to have other plants and hoyas. By the way, if you're watching for the first time, I used to have palms and orchids, a lot of palms. Aeroids, well, I still have aeroids. We've been through many genuses here, and we finally landed on hoyas. Anyways, I went there and I looked at their plants, and, well, first of all, I was just really surprised at how many there were. And if you remember watching my video from a couple of weeks ago where I mentioned that I would like a Norfolk pine, it is because I saw a giant Norfolk pine there. Now, I know that some of you will say that this is not an ideal looking Norfolk pine, and I agree because there are some branches missing, but they are not the easiest for everyone, and a lot of people in that video did tell me, or did they give me tips how to grow Norfolk pine. I know, I had a Norfolk pine. I had one 13 or 14 years ago, and it was growing really well, and then when I left abroad to study in the US for 1 year, my mom killed it. But all of that aside, I gave them an advice how to treat for pests, and some of the plants did have pests. I noticed some of them on the cycas, which a lot of people call palm. It's not a palm. That's I know it shouldn't bother me. It looks like a palm, right? But it's not. Where was I? Aside from the ranting. I must have had a point. Oh yes, here it is, here it comes. So I discovered pests in several plants, and because this is a school, they cannot really do anything with systemics. That is just out of the question. And also, because this is a school, it means that they don't have a person who is dedicated to take care of the plants. So I told them that the best way to treat them would probably be some mineral oils, and just frequently shower the plants if possible until the spring comes, because then they can take them out. They have balconies, they have places where the plants could live outside. And actually, I found this to be a very useful thing for my collection, especially like when I had some of those other more common plants like Schefflera, for example. Every year inside they get scale, and then I take it out, and whatever it is outside, whatever exists, takes care of the scale. Actually, they had a Schefflera, and I told Gabriela, oh, I'm sure this one has pests, and she was like, no, it's impossible, it looks so good. And I took a look at the plant, and sure, there was scale. If you have a Schefflera, the chance that you don't have scale is just absolutely minimal. But anyways, the point of the story is they had some plants that kind of had that grown-in look about them. And oftentimes people will ask me in the comment sections, how do I maintain some of my plants to look so nice looking and proportional and whatnot? And the thing is, I cut them a lot. If a plant doesn't want to grow the way I envisioned, I cut it. Sometimes it's, beneficial, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I find that I create more work for myself that is essentially necessary. But I don't know, it's like a thing. And I was really interested to find out, what do you do when a plant doesn't grow the way that you imagined? I mean, an example right now is my Monstera esqueleto. I did not envision that growth, and I am going to cut it. I still have yet to wrap it in some moss. I could just let it be. There is nothing wrong with the plant. There is a bit of bare stem there, sure. But is it really harming anyone? No, not really. And the plant is really thriving. And I will probably set it back a little bit, even if I wrap the part of the stem in moss and it grows a root system. it's still going to be an adjustment period, most likely. But I don't know. That's what we do, I guess, as plant people. And a lot of people also ask me how I keep them on the small side. I think there are very few plants here that have not been cut. But why am I mentioning all of this? Well, because I'm gonna cut some plants. Lesson was not learned. I saw their beautiful plants, and it's interesting. I never, when I go to someone else's house, I typically, I see their plants and I'm like, oh yeah, it's very beautiful. I would personally cut it, but that doesn't come to me. It doesn't occur to me when I look at someone's plants. You don't get that critical, but for my plants, they just don't have that luck. And today I will be restarting some hoyas. I do believe it's 3 hoyas that I want to restart. There are valid reasons. And then I have a couple of plants that I want to repot as well. So we're gonna try to tackle all of that too. You know what? I found 4 plants I want to restart. I'm just gonna take a look. Does anyone else need to be restarted? Oh, you know what? 5 plants. I forgot about the Dishedia that I want to restart. Oh, see. Oh, there is 6th one in the tent. Okay, there is a 6th one in the tent that I need to restart. All right, see, this is what happens. In my defense, I really think this is the best for them. I think when you start growing plants, there is this overwhelming urge to cut things. And I do sometimes wonder, is this an issue? Anyways, I will see you very soon in the next segment of the video, which we will call the cutting. Maybe we're not gonna call it like that. Maybe we don't name the segments in this video. I absolutely love when I start talking to the camera and it just turns off and I don't even realize that I'm not recording. I need very little audience. Not even the camera is necessary. It is clearly a different day. Let us not pretend that this was all recorded on the same day. It was not. Today we're gonna restart some hoyas as I announced in the previous section of the video. Now, some of them look semi-good. Some of them look alive-ish. I'm going to start with what probably looks best, and it is this Hoya mapigera. And you have seen this plant before. It has had many, many more leaves then. And unfortunately, she has lost many leaves because this is just not a very adequate potting mix. It's a lot of perlite and pumice. It's basically all white at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and leave the base. I'm going to repot the base into a more water retentive mix. And then the rest of the plant, if I can just show you that, I'm going to root those as cuttings. She has multiple peduncles and this plant has bloomed many times for me, which I'm very happy about. It's a great plant, but I would just like a nicer plant and I just cannot keep up with watering. So I'm going to root those cuttings and they're gonna be fine. It grows fairly fast when you give it enough water. It's an easy hoya to take care for. But again, this is just a very, very wrong mix. I'm not someone who will water his plants more than once a week. And once a week is for the very thirsty ones. So really, thirsty plants are not for me. And I'm just going to see what can be done here to make this look better. So we have here a 1-leaf cutting, which I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna discard these parts that are just the vine. Some of them could potentially be cut. And you can just try to root the nodes. I have a lot of this plant, so I'm not going to be doing that. And I'm just gonna cut, well, let's say here. I am definitely going to split it in half. And I think I'm just gonna put them all in the same pot. I'm not going to pot them right away. I'm gonna let this heal. This one is going to be a pretty nice cutting, so I'm just gonna cut here. And I think actually all of them, if I can fit them, will go into the same pot. Again, I'm just gonna discard these because I don't need them. I really don't need even this part. Maybe I will leave just a bit of it. We have another one here, so we're just gonna cut here as well. I'm actually going to leave this as the base of the plant. The next one looks very bad. This is Hoya dunamensis from Betsy. As I showed you previously, something is very wrong with this plant. I don't really know what. I don't think it's the pawn because I have Dunamensis subspecies Amari, so maybe this just needs to grow a bit more. I'm gonna take a couple of cuttings from this one too. So this is gonna be first cutting, and I'm just gonna remove the leaf that's gonna fall off anyways. It does not have a good reason for this behavior. And then the second cutting is I'm gonna take this here. Now this is not the best, obviously. It's small. These leaves are firm, they're just small by nature. These are gonna leave us. So I'm just gonna try to root those two together. It shouldn't be that hard. And then I'm gonna leave this as the base of the plant. And we'll see what the future growth will bring us. We actually don't have so many plants to restart. I feel like I'm forgetting something very vital here. This is the next one. This is Hoya Rinsi from Borneo. Not a great experience for me. I'm going to cut this. This plant used to grow much better for me when she was in semi-hydro. And I'm just gonna hope we can do that again. Something is wrong with this mix. That's why I'm rerooting it. I don't know if this is root mealybugs or a lot of mold, but something is very, very off here. I'm not about to discover what this is, but you can see nasty stuff is there. Ugh, don't fall, you potentially infested plague. You know, not great, not great. So I'm just gonna take a cutting of this plant. And I'm just looking at what would be the best way to do this because it has a new growth potentially here. So I think I'm just gonna take this, all of this as the cutting. I'm gonna root this in pond and put it in self-watering pot, and hopefully this time it will be better. That plant was so big and all of a sudden it started to lose the leaves. I don't know why, but it's stable-ish now. And hopefully we can get it going again in pond and self-watering. Now, the next one that we are cutting doesn't need to be cut. I got this from Betsy as Hoya GPS 88. This is a Dischidia, not a Hoya, very likely. It's a Dischidia. It doesn't look bad, but it does have like a long vine with no leaves. You know, I am of the opinion that this plant received way too much light. Let's see, we can check the roots on this one, we have time. I don't think this makes a massive root system, which makes me wonder, what will I put it in? I'm just gonna dump it out here. All right, there are some issues. There is substantial rot, stem rot. It has not reached the top of the plant, but there is substantial stem rot here going on. And I kind of expected that because I know I overwatered it multiple times. So let's see. Ugh, that's nasty. Not exactly the best situation. We're getting very close to these roots. So actually, we might need to restart this plant. So the issue here is that the root system is very small and not in the best shape. That makes me wonder if we should in fact take cuttings of this plant. The answer to that question is, I think, yes. They don't look good. Some of those don't look good. We're gonna have to find some dish. I think that would be the best. Something small where I can kind of lay these cuttings in pond and root them. I feel that's my best bet here. Okay, we have one more, I think. I'm going to just get that one. Well, you will get to see it in bloom, and unfortunately I will have to cut it. Let's just prune this back. This is Hoya vatsinioides. It's not looking good. It requires incredible amount of watering. I'm just gonna do it. We're doing it. That looks okay. I'm gonna put this in water. I think it will root very fast in water. I usually don't root in water, but for this one I will. That is it for now. I'm going to wait for them to dry and then we're gonna come back and pot them. is indeed the next day, and we have potted the I don't know who is we. I always say we. There's no Team Miro. It's just you. It's always just you. Understand that and accept it. I have hoyas here that I potted. They are already in the prop box and they're gonna stay here. I do have a couple of hoyas that I did cut after I recorded this video. This is a cross with Hoya Memoria. This one had completely rotten root system. I knew that was happening, so not surprised. The next one did surprise me a bit. You did see that, I think. I can't remember if I recorded it, so I put it back in pawn. Good thing about it is that the leaves are firm. They remain firm, so I think the root rot was pretty recent. And then the last one is, I think, some type of verticillata. This one actually has okay roots. You have seen my Hoya Rincy from Borneo, so it's rooting right now. The leaves are still firm, so that's good. I can already see some of these bumps on the stem being activated. They're triggered, ready to grow. Now my Danumensis, both cuttings are in one pot. So hopefully this will be much better this time around. If not, we're gonna have to get a new cutting of Hoya Danumensis. The last one is Hoya Mapigera, and I have decided that, you know, I will put all of the cuttings in the same pot in cocoa peat and perlite because I do plan to keep growing this in cocoa peat and perlite, and the rest of the plant is also repotted in cocoa peat and perlite, so I will join them eventually in the same pot. I usually root the plants in whatever mix I intend to grow the plant in. And then the last one is this Dischidia, which does not fit in the bag, unfortunately, but I hope that the humidity will be enough. That one will go into my cabinet. I just put it in the Ziploc bag. I don't have a bigger one. I have used up all of my Ikea Ziploc bags, but I put it on this bed of pumice, kind of. If we can just take a look there. I don't want to move them too much. So those are the Hoyas that we handled today. I will keep you updated in one of the future videos. I do expect you to see them. I'm not particularly worried for any one of them. I think they're all gonna do really well, and you know, sometimes you just need to restart them to make them prettier, and I'm actually glad that I took a look at some of the other ones to check on their roots because I just did not know that they were rotting away. I suspected, but I did not check. It's like, if you don't check, is it really happening? It's like that thing, if a tree fell in the forest and no one saw it, did it really fall? Or something like that. My friend and I have a version of this. It's wind in Nebraska. Meaning, you know, I'm not in Nebraska, so it's wind in Nebraska. It may or may not be happening. I don't know. I don't even know why I went on that tangent. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel. And I don't have a pitch for you. Oh no. How will I ever convince you? Let me know in the comments below if you too needed to restart some of your plants. And generally, I would just like to hear your thoughts and feelings on restarting plants. Is it just me? Do you also do it when the plant gets a bit unsightly? I don't know, why are we so obsessed with them looking perfect? You would think that we would be over it, but I can accept crispy leaves, but a weird growth pattern that is not exactly how I imagined it, that's pushing it too far. Like, you got your crispy leaves. Anyways, Miro needs to shut up and repot some other plants off camera, so sorry you don't get to see everything. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Goodbye! I would like to take some time to thank my patrons. A massive shout out to my $5 patrons. My 3 anonymous patrons, Alex von Siebenthal, Anne-Margaret Moen, Angela Bernard, Angela Parrish, NC, Ashley Hoyas, Becky Higgins, Beth Gibson, Betsy, Danube Daniels, Daria Kaminska, Deanne Sikorsky, Farah, Gina Geisig, Go Green Tropical, Heather Uppenkamp, Hoji Scott, Houseblend Heather, Hoya Heather, Yana Griffin, Jessica Chio, Cara, KC Gross Hoyas, Kelly Koo, Kelso, Kristen Sherwood, LePlan the Steph, Mandy Milliken, Marcel Haar, Mars B, Martina Alif Perday, Marty Miller, Mary Rose Nagel, Melissa Walker, Michael Curley, Nicole Ferranti, Mirka Grun Roos, Neely Yang, Nicole Moreau, Nicole and Caleb of Schlieve Tropicals, Nita Macy, PJ, Robin L. Jennings, Sherry Kumar, Stephanie H2O, Stephanie Zeely May, Sybil Williams, Tanya, Tessa Martins, The Swedish Hoya Noob, Tia Bronson, TJWO, Milsbo, Wendy Foreman, Wendy Rossman, Yutha the Walamut, and Zlokobni Pony. Also, a big thank you to my $3 patrons: Angelina Farnan, Ann Margaret, Anna K, Brenda Little, Brenna B, Brianna Phillips, Kilone, Christina Greengrass, Claudia L, Fluffy Blue Sheep, Jerry's Garden, Lisa Helling, Morgan Kennedy, Nella, Nerdy Kathy, Plan Druid, Plantalania, Ringlov, and Tangwata Nasria Cool. And a thank you to my $1 patrons: Brandon Pacheco, Kari, Carrie, Connor Bronson, Constance Jacinta, Jolie Sullivan, Caleb Avra, Lauren M, Lori Ann Subramanian, Luzman Fernandez, Neely Spicer, and Olivia Chinmuller. Thank you all so much for incredible support. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. I will see you very soon, and I think it will be also time to start with some spring chores. Goodbye!